Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
As Matt C said in chat, easy game, no stress. My butt. The Calgary Flames, as I forgot to mute my tab, the Calgary Flames win by a final score of 3-2 over the San Jose Sharks. And as I said on Blue Sky, I was prepared for this to be a crash out stream with the Flames failing to score through 40 minutes. But the Calgary Flames, once again in this month, find a way to battle back. Hello, folks. My name is Conrad Krausert. I'm your host of Game Over Calgary tonight. And you know what? The Flames did enough to win, which is something they obviously needed to continue this chase for the wild card. I'm still trying to find the tweet I was looking at earlier. Because we'll talk about the playoff hopes as we go forward here. But this was when they started. They needed at least a win here. They needed this 2 points. But before we get into the recap, I will just go through our first ad read for the Game Over Network. Shift into hyperdiving. Get ready to have some fun with your news source for all the biggest stories in hockey. For a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, the big stories in hockey and pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive, debate, make you think, and even more. Join Max Van Hope, Stephanie Bove, and Kevin Larmé as they return soon for your fill on the stories from around the hockey world and elsewhere. Watch on YouTube on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or your podcatcher of choice. You can head on over to our website, thegameovernetwork.com, for more. But yeah, that was not stressful whatsoever. The Flames didn't go right down to the wire. But before we address the game that was, it's with heavy hearts from around the hockey world, and this, even here on the Game Over Network, that we share and talk about the passing of Greg Millen today. As the NHL alumni said, he's played 14 seasons between the pipes in the NHL for 6 teams: the Penguins, the Whalers, Blues, Nordiques, Blackhawks, and Red Wings, appearing in over 600 regular season games. Once he retired from professional play, he graced the airwaves of the Calgary Flames broadcast, whether that be with CBC's Hockey Night in Canada or on Sportsnet. He's worked alongside all the greats: Bob Cole, Ron McLean, Jim Hewson. And when it wasn't Kelly, it was Greg. And obviously, Sportsnet didn't have the broadcast today. I think probably a lot of their family is hurting. So our thoughts go out to the Millen family. Thoughts to his wife and his 4 kids. Tough to hear about because he's been a voice of the color for the Flames for a while now, and it's tough because this wasn't something that anyone saw coming. So to the Millen family, our thoughts are with you. Our sticks are tapping the proverbial boards in memory of one of the greats. I'm sure he might have helped propel some of that in that third period, especially the play of the young goaltender Dustin Wolf. Give me a moment, folks, because I'm tearing up. I caused myself to tear up. Well done, Conrad. But for a man who had a master's degree in leadership, he certainly showed that on the broadcast. So that was tough to hear that this morning. And as Sportsnet said, he left an indelible mark on this sports. I saw this on Mike Gould's Twitter where Craig Millen was on that call where Patrick Waugh had made the original save and raised his glove to the heavens against the Detroit Red Wings, only to drop the puck right in the blue paint and the Red Wings to score. So that moment will live on forever in my mind. And as we know, my housemate who we've seen in chat, the Denim Man, he's a Red Wings fan, so that moment probably will live on forever in his memory as well. But the Flames needed a win today. Oh, and to move it into a happier news that I hadn't heard about. Congratulations to Meredith and the Goudreau family for the birth of Carter Michael Goudreau. Obviously, it's been a tough road for that family, and for them to add the next young hockey star to that family, or whatever they choose to do. Congratulations to the Goudreau family. Finally, something to celebrate. Or one door closes, another opens. So, the Flames, as I said, tough road, as they've scored now exactly just over 200 goals this year. Sharks scored their 198th this year. Shows how actually probably on par these two teams would be without the play of standout goaltender Dustin Wolf. And it was kind of the battle of the two Calder contenders as Macklin Celebrini was across the ice, and Macklin actually opened up the scoring in today's game, of course with only a secondary assist. But kind of a play of his own hard work as Macklin put the puck in and went and won the puck along the boards. Kovalenko won it back from the Flames defenders, and oh boy, Rasmus Andersson was puck watching as Will Smith scores his 15th of the year. I know a lot of people on any social media weren't too happy with the play of Rasmus there, and again, it's kind of the bottom four getting trapped in their own zone 5-on-5. It's something I've been critical of, and it's something that's been going on all year. And then the Flames and Sharks played a nothing second period. Flames started to get their momentum back. There was a couple big stops from Dustin Wolf to keep them in this, and not a lot of hope from the Calgary Flames, as they did, however, reverse their fortunes. Fired 11 shots on goal, only allowing 8 for the Sharks after allowing 18 in the first period. If this was a crash-out game, that first period would have drove me nuts. You are a team that apparently has all the desperation in the world. You're playing for the playoffs. And you're apparently supposed to be a playoff team. Are the Flames a playoff team at the end of the day? That's what we're going to see over the next week and a half. But if you're a team that wants to be in that conversation, you can't be trailing 10 shots to the second worst team in the NHL, depending on who you ask. Some people will say they're the worst team in the NHL. They say they're actually worse than Chicago, but I don't believe that. Anyways. Second period, Flames start turning things around. You can start to see the flow of the game starting to change. That's an eye test thing. That's not necessarily an advanced metrics thing. But then you see Martin Pospisil in on the forecheck, gets crushed into the boards. His elbow bends pretty weird. They stop the play. They bring out the athletic therapist. Don't call them trainers. They're athletic therapists. Athletic therapist comes out, skates them off to the bench. This makes me cringe internally. I know joints, especially knees and elbows, aren't easy to fix or diagnose necessarily. So it was good to see that Martin Pospisil was out on the bench. But that does allow an opportunity for a young man who is 6'8", and if you watch me on Blue Sky, you can't teach that. Enzo Amore is still a scumbag. But the 6'8" Adam Klapka gets the elevation and gets the Flames on the board. Good hard work as he gets elevation to the line of Huberdeau and Kadri. Huberdeau, good work along the boards, even though he doesn't get an assist on this play to make sure that puck gets through. Kadri rips a shot, can't be controlled by the Sharks' young goaltender Romanov. I was surprised it wasn't Georgiev tonight, but it was Romanov. Puck trickles through, and Klapka tucks it home, his 4th goal of the year, Kadri's 30th assist, and Balls gets an assist as well, his 16th of the season. Not bad for a guy that's mostly a stay-at-home defenseman. Flames don't stop there. They keep the pressure on the power play. Finally, Huberdeau finds his spot in front of the net. I thought it was Morgan Frost's goal, but apparently Huberdeau did get a piece for his 28th goal of the year. Assists to Weegar and Morgan Frost. I think that one might go back to Frost after they review it a little bit more, but someone somewhere saw Huberdeau get a piece, so he gets the power play goal. Flames go ahead 2. My tweet on Blue Sky still has the picture of a certain Batman Beyond, hey, chill out, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll leave it as Morgan Frost. Flames up 2-1. And then an absolute mental error from a young team. Matt Coronado makes a good sharp turn and strips the puck away from the San Jose to forward, trying to get the puck out of his zone, Alex Wenberg. And makes no mistake, we all know Matt Coronado has a hell of a wrist shot. And was on display there, off the post and in. Flames 3-1. Sharks don't go off into the night. They pull the goaltender and do manage to get a goal for the second time on the night. It is Will Smith from Liljegren. Obviously, most of us remember him from Toronto after Liljegren put the puck off the end boards. I always think the Flames have some of the most lively back end boards in hockey, but seem to have a fair amount of bounce in San Jose. Will Smith tucks it home. Another assist for Macklin Celebrini, but it's too little too late. Dustin Wolf and the rest of the Calgary Flames fend off the surging Sharks and stay in the wild card race. 3 stars given in arena. Dustin Wolf, the 1st star. Will Smith, the 2nd. Macklin Celebrini, the 3rd. Shots on goal. The Flames led by 1 after everything's said and done. They fire 13 shots in the 3rd period to only San Jose's 5. Face-off odd about 50-50. Flames go 1 for 1 on the power play. Not bad. And 1 for 3 shorthanded. Their first shorthanded goal allowed in 6 games. Led in the hits department 33-21. We're behind in block shots 12-14. Led in the giveaway department, only giving the puck away 12 times to San Jose's 18. Obviously, one of those leading directly to a goal. And the Flames actually leading in a department that they usually trail in the takeaways 6-5. So what does this mean for your Calgary Flames? We'll get into that in period number 2. Because as said in chat by Alex, Minnesota has a very light schedule at the end of the season. Not the case with Calgary. Yeah, the Flames definitely do have the harder road to the end of the season. But as they say in poker, all you need is a chip and a chair, and the Flames, they're battling. They aren't just handing away that final chip in their stack. They're going to have to double up a few times and get lucky elsewhere. The Flames aren't dead yet. So where does that leave us in the standings at the end of the day today? As we saw, St. Louis Blues fall to the Winnipeg Jets. And as we saw yesterday, Nashville fell, or the Wild, Minnesota, won in overtime against Dallas. I don't know why. Minnesota and Nashville have always kind of just blended in my mind. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But after all said and done, the Flames end the day on 77 games played, 87 points. Minnesota, they are up 4. They've got 91. Remember, the Wild do have the tiebreaker with the Flames. St. Louis Blues at 93. As was said in chat, the Flames, if they win to the final game, they'll be at 97 points. Is it possible? Who knows? Tough schedule for the Flames into the end of the year. Not overly difficult for Minnesota. Just pulling up the Wild schedule here as I did have it, but I've certainly closed a few tabs today. So the Wild, their 4 remaining games on the schedule. They play the very same Sharks who had a excellent game today on Wednesday. Then on Friday, it'll be me and Anand doing the post game here on Game Over Calgary as the Flames take on the Wild. Of course, that is at home for the Flames. Home ice advantage could be huge for that 4-point game. The Wild also had to play the Canucks, who have kind of tapered off into the distance, but still have played some good games. Not recently, but they have. And then they play the pesky Ducks for the final game of their regular season. So that's the Wild. Who do the Flames have left? Again, I closed the wrong tab earlier. So we play the frustrating Ducks, who just defeated the Edmonton Oilers tonight. We play them on Wednesday. So both teams in action. Friday, the 11th, we go down, or we bring the Minnesota Wild to Calgary. We then see the Sharks again, which could be a very important game. We'll see how the Flames can continue their momentum. The biggest team on our schedule is the Golden Knights. And ending the season, the rescheduled game from earlier in the season due to the forest fires in the Los Angeles area, the Calgary Flames wind out their season in Los Angeles. Doable. Is it easy? No. Is it the most difficult? Are we facing absolute world beaters? Vegas could maybe be put in that category. Los Angeles has been good of late. But they're already locked, so who knows how much they'll want to play, especially with the Oilers kind of stumbling and fumbling their way into the playoffs. We'll have to see. But I got a conversation for the second period. We'll be heading right there after this message. Looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists, broadcasters, and analysts across Canada? If you have a few spare bucks sticking around, you can head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scene, Discord benefits, merch discounts, and opportunities to give us feedback, and other special shows live. Hey, maybe we'll all be watching live at that LA Kings game goes on in that final day. But there you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for that help. As we are looking to interact more with you guys as our guests, and we're trying to launch more ways to improve that experience. If you're not able to spare any dollars and cents, we all understand that the world has changed in Trump's tariff land. But we do have a free tier available so you don't miss out if you really want to help us. In other ways, make sure to click like and subscribe on this video. It really does help. Rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, even if you aren't listening to us. It would be great if you listen to us again. I love the fact that you can stand my voice twice in 24 hours. But hey, just download the podcast, rate it 5 stars, leave us a good comment. It helps with the algorithm. And reminder for our Patreon, once again, that's patreon.com/thegameovernetwork for all those tantalizing goodies. But this was the battle of potential Calder Trophy candidates in Macklin Celebrini, the forward all-star for the San Jose Sharks, and Dustin Wolf of the Calgary Flames. And Dustin Wolf stood on his head a couple times tonight, made a couple massive saves to make sure that this team even had the opportunity to come out with the win. And Macklin, obviously, 2 assists on the day. And I'll give Macklin Celebrini a lot of respect that I didn't necessarily think of his game this way. Maybe it's that meme that I didn't understand your game, big man. I didn't understand how Macklin Celebrini was actually a player who was willing to go into those hard areas, win the puck battles, get that puck moving. I kind of thought that was more of the Will Smith responsibility on that line. But today you saw it twice. Macklin Celebrini getting into those hard work areas and winning puck battles that led to both of Will Smith's goals. Yeah, of course there's secondary assists, and how will that play into the minds of the voters, especially those voters out east that aren't going to stay up for an 8:30 Mountain Time puck drop, even if it is between a team that's trying to battle into the playoffs and Macklin Celebrini. Who knows? But will Dustin Wolf's performance, even in a game where, as I said, didn't have necessarily a world-beating performance, but comes out of the game with a 935 against a team that's trying to play spoiler, that as they have most of the year. It's really hard. Voters really, for whatever reason, don't put the value on goaltending stats as much as they do look at, hey, Macklin Celebrini's got 30 assists. And he's also contributing goals at a 21 goals in his rookie season in 64 games played. So that puts him at 55 points on the year and nearly a point a game player in his rookie season. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing Macklin Celebrini. He is great, and he is the future of the San Jose Sharks franchise. But Dustin Wolf is, in statistical categories, in high danger scoring chances, goals saved above expected, it's a pretty rarefied air in all goaltending land. So it's really hard for these voters, and obviously I don't have a vote or a dog. Well, I have a dog in the fight. I'm a Flames fan, but I don't have a vote yet. So I really would love to think that there is a chance for Dustin Wolf to win this award. But I just worry that the people who get to vote for this are kind of not in the right analytical space to make that the case. And I apologize. My glasses are filthy and it's driving me nuts. Will I be upset if Macklin Celebrini wins this award? I don't think so. God, they're still dirty and filthy. Ugh. But will I be upset, say, if Matvei Michkov finishes above Dustin Wolf in the voting, if it becomes public? Probably. As I think Dustin Wolf is at least worthy of being second on that ballot. Of course, I hit a mute button, so you're going to... Oh, never mind. You don't hear that because I turned off all my sounds. Right. But in these games where it is kind of a little bit of head-to-head, rather, even though you can't compare it apples to oranges, this is another win for Dustin Wolf. As I believe on the 28th, it was Dustin Wolf in net as well. It was, which was the Flames' first meeting, a 3-1 win over the Sharks. And then for the Flames, as they kind of look to end their schedule. Yeah, so it's 3 wins for Dustin Wolf over Macklin Celebrini. Macklin has scored in a few of those games. His 2 assists today also play into that. But Dustin Wolf has 2 wins over Macklin Celebrini and the Sharks. So maybe that plays in to the eyes of the voters. I'll ask you, chat. Obviously, we have a fair amount of bias being in a Calgary Flames post-game stream. But what are your thoughts? Is Dustin Wolf warranted to be in this fight? Well, not necessarily a fight, but in this competition. That's maybe a better word for it. Have his numbers impressed you, even as Flames fans, to add to your bias and add to the load that you think the voters should be putting more weight behind the Flames netminder? Has his numbers been over the moon and over the stars enough to put him into that conversation? Because that's what Matt C has said in chat here, I think, encapsulates it. As I said to start this show off, the Sharks have scored 4 less goals than the Calgary Flames, and are the second worst team in hockey. Without Dustin Wolf, the Flames are a bottom feeder. With Macklin Celebrini, the Sharks are still a bottom feeder. Food for thought. But let's head into our next intermission. If you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want some more, right? Well, make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on the channel, and make sure you click that notification bell so you're alerted when we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and write us a positive review. Really helps with that algorithm that we are all talking about. If you really like us, make sure to go follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky at thegameovernetwork.com, on TikTok and Elon Musk's hell site at Game Over NHL. On Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn, we are at Game Over Network. I'm not on X anymore. Well, I kind of am. I've got a lurker account, but I'm not posting there anymore. If you want to find me and contact me, head on over where the skies are blue. I'm Conrad Krausert. .bsky.social. You can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where you can find our Discord. And hey, check us out on Patreon as well, as stated earlier. Do want to give a shout out to everyone who has joined us in chat today. Tokai number 1, Moose is here. Christine Merrill, Anand, thank you for checking us out. Alex, Ixby, the Denim Man. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in. And, of course, Matt C., who I just talked about earlier. And I'm going to dedicate this third period to a thread I saw on Blue Sky. Is Michael Backlund worthy of wearing that C? Because I really saw a couple people that I follow and trust their opinions being really harsh on the role that Michael Backlund plays for this team and this squad, and how he's lost a step. I don't think Michael Backlund is 100% after his injury. I think he's lost half a step. I also don't think he's been as good on the draw this year, as we've harped on numerous times on this program. But I think that the Flames really need his leadership as part of this going forward. And has he lost a step on what he was? Yeah, probably. But is he kind of the straw that maybe makes the rest of the squad understand how much these games mean to Calgary? How much this city lives and breathes this organization? I think so. While I appreciate that people like Moose is here thinks that the C needs to go to Kadri because he's been the on-ice driver, I think that Michael Backlund allows this team to understand that they aren't just living the pro hockey lifestyle. That there are so many of us that buy in to this team and how much it means, not just on the ice. And I think that's important. And I get it. I see the comments in chat right now that the Swedish duo have not been at their best this year. And I'm not going to argue with that. But I think that chasing them out of town leaves the wrong message. That this organization is trying to absolutely nip in the bud, that they don't care about the community. Hey, they just got a new C-suite to engage this city more, and chasing away players who endorse the city of Calgary isn't the way that C-suite's going to operate, I don't think. Now, do I agree that Michael Backlund has probably played a role that hasn't suited his game this year? Probably. Do I think he's playing at 80%? Also, yes. Do I think Rasmus has regressed and probably isn't actually what we saw last year? Probably. Are we also seeing that out of Igor Sharangovich, who's also seeing a fair share of fire and brimstone coming his way, depending on the night? Yes. But I think there's still room for them as Calgary Flames, but the role needs to be reevaluated probably for next year. Does Backlund probably take that Kevin Rooney 12 minutes a night and penalty kill specialist? I think so. But that leaves you with a huge need in the offseason, in a offseason where there isn't a ton of centers. Maybe that moves Morgan Frost to being a second line center full-time next year. Probably. And hey, Anand's put a good point in the chat. One thing I can tell is Andersson is definitely banged up or hurt. Is the Battle of Alberta 2 weeks ago. He was limping and struggling to walk, so he'd probably appreciate a break. As well, he's not been skating most of these days. He's had a ton of maintenance days. So he is playing at 80%. So I think there is a need to reevaluate what we have in Rasmus Andersson if he is a Calgary Flame next year. Probably Craig Conrad's got to at least listen to offers over this offseason. And I don't think you're going to trade or take the C off of Backlund next year. Maybe you'll reevaluate his role. Maybe you have that conversation about, let's have you be a fourth liner next year and celebrate what you and Frida have done to this city and start to wind that down. And I'm seeing the argument in chat, and I'm not going to moderate because I've got a show to run. But I think that Rasmus at 80% is still better than Denis Miromanov at 100%. I think having him back there is still less of a liability than the replacement parts. That's my 2 cents on this. Let's understand that Rasmus is probably our best chance to sneak into that 8th spot. And understand that this is what this team is. Are they deeply flawed? Yes. If they weren't deeply flawed, they wouldn't be battling for the wild card. They'd have a clinched symbol next to their name. They are a deeply flawed team. And with that, they may end up in the place that we all dreaded at the beginning of this year, which is just on the outside looking in and giving away a top 15 draft pick to the Montreal Canadiens. But they're giving us exciting hockey to watch down the stretch, which is not something we got last year. And the fact that we can even have this conversation is a blessing. That's my 2 cents, folks. But that will wind down our third period. I will scan the chat more thoroughly for our overtime as it comes up here. But before I do that, got to talk about merch. What better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing? Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs, whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, whether you want to wear that live and die by the goalie that just was on screen, bringing your support for Dustin Wolf and Dan Vladar, Or if you want to use that established sign, which just flew across your screen, we got it all. And hey, we've even got mugs if you're like me and getting an early spring cold that you battled off with Halls and tea prior to this episode. We've even got a mug for that. All designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code on stream now and take a look through our apparel line. Help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping this community. But back to me in the big picture. Gonna take a look all the way back here. Easy game, no stress from Matt. Anaheim will get on your nerves tomorrow. I don't doubt that, but I do believe that the Ducks will be without Radko Gudas. And that might actually be a good thing for the Ducks because he has been deplorable this year. As he took a high hit to a highly likable Edmonton Oiler, Corey Perry. And so we'll see. We'll see what the Ducks have to bring. As Denaman stated, I don't have any love lost for the Anaheim Ducks. I still remember the Disneyland curse that plagued this team for most of my formative years. No love lost for that organization. Minnesota has a light schedule. We've discussed that. Here's something from Moose's here. We want Zane called up, and has the Saginaw officially been eliminated? I didn't even have a chance to check. Spirits. If I can type, that would be great. Oh yeah, Saginaw was eliminated 2 days ago. Proves how much I've been paying attention to hockey these days. So Zane Parekh watch is officially on. And he was one of the bright spots for Sag throughout the tough run in the O. And as I've said, it's when you're in the company of Bobby Orr as a producer in the OHL as your only real comparable, that's a good place to be, regardless of how you feel about Bobby Orr outside of the hockey realm. I do think maybe Zane is a little too raw to come into the lineup, say, if we signed his contract tomorrow and was ready to go for Wednesday. I don't think that's necessarily the best for the development of the player or for the roster the Flames can bring to the ice, but maybe I'm wrong. Moose, the defense is bad. I don't think it's that bad necessarily that Parekh just can walk onto this roster, but I do agree it's not where we want it. Flames can still make the playoff. The Blues finally lost, yes. The heater of the century has been washed. Obviously, I still think the most likely scenario is the Flames hopping the Wild, especially with that 4-point game. Let's go Flames from the Denim Man, because he's finally realized that the Red Wings aren't going to make it. Can the Flames still catch Edmonton? Edmonton does not have an X beside their name. In theory, they can still actually not make the playoffs. Oh boy. I don't think the Flames are going to catch them, though. It is possible. The Oilers can lose out. They can lose their final 5 games without Connor and Leon, and the Flames can pass them. It's still possible. As it said, the Flames could end on 97 points, so we can't pass the Kings, but we can pass the Oilers. Possible? Yes. Plausible? Not really. Vegas and Kings are the tough games. Yes, we talked about that. We need Klapka to play on the first line. Klapka is our secret weapon. Moose is here said Matt C actually doesn't believe that. Is there still some upside to Klapka? Could he become a middle 6 guy than rather just a pure 4th liner? So we kind of see the two opinions, as Klapka has been good for the last 3 weeks. As I've said in the past, the worst Adam Klapka is he's 6'8". He is a big body who is now finally playing like he's 6'8". When we've seen Adam Klapka in the past, he wasn't necessarily as physical as he is now. I think he led the Flames in hits tonight. But we're finally starting to see that grit, that roughness, that understanding of his role from Adam Klapka that we hadn't seen in years past. So I do believe there is some upside. I think bottom 6 is still relatively secured at where his upside is. But as we saw, he played minutes on the first line today and got to a rebound and tucked it home. So are there options and opportunities that could see Adam Klapka play higher up the lineup? 100%. Do I see him as an everyday first or second liner? Not in a long shot, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. So there's the Adam Klapka argument. Possible return to the bench, so we'll see if Klapka will remain with the first line. Did he take a shift after he returned? Because I don't think he did. That could have just been a morale boost kind of thing with his elbow still sore. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen on Wednesday? Maybe that will be the debut for the Flames of, what was the name of the guy they just signed? I should know this better. The NCAA signing. Brain. Flames roster. The winger. Aidar Suniev. There's a goal scorer for the Flames if they decide that Marty Pospisil can't get it done. Talking about the voters. Can they make it? I think I've gone through all those scenarios in which the Flames have to jump through a few hoops. As I said, their battle is harder, but they certainly can make it. But the control's not all in their own hands. Deneman, honestly, that's the kind of player I wish the Flames had, because damn, they have lost some easy puck battles. Yes, Blake Coleman has been atrocious outside of the last 3 games in his puck battle department. I actually think he's been one of the better Flames for the last 2 weeks. We'll have to see how the Flames address that. Craig Conroy said he was looking for speed, size, and skill. Maybe not in that order. See if that's how they go into this draft. Bias is a Wolf fan, but I think voters need to consider is a huge part of why the Flames are in consideration right now. Wolf wins the Calder if we make the playoffs. Moose, as I said, yes, I did say that. The Frost goal has been attributed to Huberdeau. Congratulations, he gets off the schneid if it stays that way. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Huberdeau scoring a goal. I didn't see him touch the puck, but he gets credited with it. Good for his positivity, his mentality moving forward. Maybe he gets the 30 goals again. We will see. Talk about the captaincy. Backlund and Rasmus are overrated. Get the Swedes out of the city. I don't necessarily agree. I gave my opinion on that. Gave my opinion on Backlund. Ultimately, their job is the best address line. I think Backlund's a good shutdown center, but good doesn't cut it anymore. We need great. We're not a top 4 team in this league yet. We are a deeply flawed team still in the middle of a retool. We'll see where that evolves to in the next 3 seasons. I think next year might be Backlund's last as a Flame. We'll have to see. And I do think Rasmus might get moved in the offseason. To talk about the other Swedish player that was there. The Wings can still make it. That's delirium. That's hopium. What are the internal statistics that the Oilers have that says Skinner is a good goalie? Are they making up stuff? Stuart Skinner got the Oilers to a Stanley Cup final last year. Is he ever going to win a Vezina trophy? No. Is he ever going to represent Canada? I hope not. Is he a replacement level goalie in the NHL? Yes, which is all that the Oilers are paying him to be. The Oilers have one of the lowest cost tandems in the NHL, and that's how they need to work to maintain the duo that is Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. They do not have the dollars to spend for somebody that is above league average, and that is exactly what Stuart Skinner is. And when you don't have those 2 stars in the lineup, because I think they didn't have either of them in the lineup today. Yeah, no, both of them out of the lineup. So yeah, no 97 or Leon Draisaitl in the lineup for the Oilers yet again. But as I said, it's a salary cap thing. The Oilers are getting what they pay for. We talked about that in Game Over in Edmonton. Any further questions? I'll wait another couple seconds as I do have to shout out the fact that the Calgary Hitmen will be returning to the Saddledome Ice to play their playoff series, as they were the only team in the WHL to actually sweep their first round series. So they got some good games coming up as they take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. First game is Thursday, April 10th. Go cheer on the Hitmen. Go watch some playoff hockey when the Flames aren't playing. Go watch the future stars of the NHL. Hey, you might even run into Matt DeMille when you're at those Hitmen games. So make sure you go support hockey in this area. And I know I'm not a Calgary Canucks fan. There's some bad blood there. If you also want to watch some playoff junior hockey, Calgary Canucks are taking on the Drumheller Dragons in the AJHL playoffs. How are they doing, actually? I haven't been paying that much attention. Let's pull up their website. Let's see how they're doing. Calgary Canucks, they're up 2-0 over the Dragons from Drumheller. That series heading to Drumheller. So go check out your Calgary Canucks as they have picked up their 2 wins at home. They could get the sweep on Wednesday out in Drum. If you got a Flow Hockey subscription, go watch them. Cheer them on. Cheer on the team that Anand Unnithan is a part of the production crew of. As there's lots of good hockey happening in Calgary and area. But I think that is it for questions, comments, and concerns. So let's take a look at my Game Over schedule here on my other screen, because I think it is Anand Unnithan who will be here for the next one. It will at least be Anand. We may have Matt DeMille able to jump in on that one if they free him from the WHL office mines. That one's another late puck drop, 8 o'clock. And then on Friday, the Minnesota Wild come to town in the all-important 4-point game for your Calgary Flames. It'll be myself and Anand Unnithan breaking that one down. But thank you so much for tuning in all year. I know we're starting to wind down. Only 5 games remaining for your Calgary Flames. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for all your vivid chat engagement today. The Calgary Flames squeak out a win over San Jose. Final score 3-2. We'll let you hang out with Anand on Wednesday, but then on Friday, as I said, big important game. We'll see you for Game Over Calgary then.